Hello, Anna, and good afternoon. We're afternoon already.
Yes, I know that again. The time is just flying by. I have to keep checking my watch just to see if what the time is. Yeah, it's
It
great.
really is. And that additional one with Cecile earlier, it's just added. I feel like we should almost be live all the time simply, and that would it would make it simpler, at least for me.
Yes, I know that. Like I said, there's so much going on, and there's so many interesting discussions as well that it's really hard to keep almost track of where everyone is, where in what session they're into.
Definitely. And I caught a bit of the UKRI COP26 Fellows session earlier, which was lovely to see. We've got Jessica joining us on Friday, which will be fantastic. And it's wonderful that we've got dedicated people that are researchers that are involved and really turning their attention to COP26.
Yeah, it's very exciting indeed. And speaking of exciting, we have another exciting guest right
We
now.
do. Let's welcome in Serena Bashal. Good to see you here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, it's fantastic. We've had such a range of people on these lives, from very senior policymakers and researchers and scientists to students as well. And I gather you're just finishing up your undergraduate.
Yes, so I just finished my final ever exam a few hours ago and then came straight to Expo. So yeah, I'm really excited.
That's fantastic. That must also be exhausting.
So exhausting. I am extremely exhausted right now, but still having fun.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about what you've been studying and how you got into what you're studying now? That'd be great to share.
Yeah, so I study maths and biology as a dual honours, so it's 50-50 at Keele University. It's my undergraduate degree. How I got into biology, I think it was just kind of a love for the natural environment. If you go way, way back, it started off with a love for space and the universe and, aliens and life, astrobiology. And then this kind of transgressed down to Earth and then led me to biology. And then maths, I just thought, why not?
Wow.
That's fantastic. And you've been hosting a session as well earlier in the program. Is that right today?
Yeah, so on behalf of my NGO, the UK Youth Climate Coalition, myself and 3 other volunteers from our group, we organised a session on youth advocacy and youth campaigning, particularly in light of COP26 happening. So that was actually really, really fun, and we had a great turnout. And not only was the numbers great, but it was very intergenerational. So we were expecting mostly just young people, but there was a good mix of ages, which led to really fruitful discussions, which is always great.
That's fantastic.
We had so many participants in that group, didn't we? It was nice though, a really good mix, as you said, and some great conversations going in there. I was very lucky to dip into that session. So yeah, more to share.
Definitely. And I'm sort of thinking about, because you may have seen that we've got this new film campaign that's been launched called Act Now, and we finish all the lives with the trailer. And I wonder, do you feel like young people are really sort of motivated to engage and want to do things, more than perhaps they have in the past? How are you seeing things?
That's a very, very interesting question, actually. So I've been in the youth climate activism space for 5 years now. I started off in the UN space, and now I try to make sure I cover all of these different areas, local, national, and I've definitely seen a rise. So when I first started out about 5 years ago, it was big, but nowhere near as big as it is now. Now climate change, I feel like, is very much at the top of the agenda for a lot of young people. And if you were to go back maybe 5 years ago and just go to any random young person and say, hey, do you want to join me on this climate change project? They'd maybe be a bit apathetic or maybe not really care as much. But then if you go now, it's like, wow, this is really the defining topic at the moment. It's something really, really important.
It was interesting, actually. We had another session yesterday where they were talking about a lady had done some research, and her research was showing that more students that they were being interviewing at a university level were bringing up Greta Thunberg as their main inspiration as to why they want to do something, why they want to do their courses that they're applying for. And again, in the sessions earlier, we were talking about what's infusing other people in those groups, and as you said, it was a mix. It wasn't just students or youthful students as it might be seen. We had a really nice mix of different people from different backgrounds. And so what do you feel that we could do to make more integration of both the youth voices as well as, we're approaching COP26. We've got not that much left time. It's a 6 months ticking down now. So what can we do to mobilize these efforts?
I guess if you're talking specifically about the integration of youth and intergenerational integration, events like this are fantastic for that. I think this particular expo event, just because my voice has gone all funny, it's particularly such a good mix of students, maybe younger students, but also people who maybe work in education or do research. So conferences and online events such as expos are a great way to just gather people, and mixing, when you mix and you can actually have that conversation and open up that dialogue, you can really start to feel maybe where the other side is coming from and broaden your perspectives where you didn't understand this before. And I feel like this is such an important aspect to intergenerational equity. Just on that too, that's why what I do at the UN is really, really push for youth engagement, really, really strong youth engagement, not just photos and, maybe a quick chat, but actually sit down at a table and have a really in-depth conversation and have people in power and decision makers say, how can we help? What do you want us to do? And then they actually take action on it.
Yeah, that's so important. So tell us a bit more about that. And how did you get involved with the UN organization?
So this started through the UK Youth Climate Coalition, actually, about 5 years ago. So I kind of threw myself right in the deep end. I knew I'd always found the UN quite fascinating. I think a lot of people do, and it's more of like a dream kind of thing if you're not involved in the space at all. And that's what it was for me, was a distant dream to get involved. And then I started doing some research. How can I get more involved in environmental activism? And how can I just join? And then I saw UK YCC were recruiting. And so I applied and they recruited me. And then a few months later, they took me on the delegation to COP22 in Marrakesh.
Wow. I mean, that would have been an experience in itself if you've never been to Marrakesh. So, that's quite an experience. But a great start. And you've been there and you've been doing that and you're pushing forward. And what are the things leading up to COP26 you think that you really want to, if you could voice something yourself, what would it be, your key messages?
I have two things that I really, really love to champion. So number one, intergenerational equity is so, so important. Have your youth on your parties and delegations, actually allow youth to have a seat at the table. It's our futures that are being negotiated. It only makes sense that we're involved in the discussion. But also not just having a seat at the table, but on the external projects that are happening, that are being sent to the negotiators, have them actually listen to these demands and these asks and have them taken into account. That's the first one. Actually, three things: climate justice, let the global south have some kind of equity here. It's needed. And it's what I really, really want to see, actually. And the third one is the clean energy transition. I have a love for renewable energy. It's what I'm going to be doing in September when I start my grad job. So yeah, and actually having these as action and not just words.
That's fantastic to hear. And I guess, so you tell us more about that, because I think many students that may be watching or following will sort of wonder about where they go at the end of their degree. So how have you managed to sort of position yourself towards the end of your degree to find a position afterwards? How's that come about?
Actually, I wasn't going to apply for a grad job when I did, which was at the beginning of my third year, just because grad job applications are quite long and intense. And if you combine this with having really, really intense assignments at university, it's quite a lot. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll just go for it. I'll just apply for maybe one or two. It won't take up too much of my uni time. And then I did, and I knew I wanted to go into renewable energy because for me, it's actually really fitting. We're talking about this on Mitigation Day of Expo, but for me, the clean energy transition is so key. It really is the core thing to climate mitigation. So that's why I want to work on it. I want to go right to the root of the problem. And I guess that's what I would also say to anyone who is maybe watching and wants some kind of ideas for what you want to do when you finish your degree. I guess just go to, if you feel very passionately about a problem, maybe try and go right to the root cause of this problem and you'll feel so rewarded by it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Trying to get to the root of anything at the moment, it feels like we've got a mountain to climb, but we can do it. And also, what sometimes feels like that mountain to climb? What can the average person do? Even if you're a student, you might have limited, funds, for instance. What would you say to students or advise them? What are ways that they can get involved with, like, what they can do in terms of changes, like making change for themselves?
Oh, wow. I could talk about this for hours and hours. There's so much, honestly. And I know it's really easy to say that when you're inside the bubble, but outside the bubble, it probably seems quite daunting. I guess when I try and bring someone into the space, the first thing I ask is, do you want to work locally, nationally, or internationally? Each one has its pros and cons. Each one has different levels of depth and different entry points into it. For example, if you want to work in the international space, go and find some kind of international youth network, get involved, and these networks will have so many different projects, opportunities. All you have to do generally is join their mailing list, and you'll be getting emails every day with different kinds of projects. Another way you could do something is locally is just go to your local councillor or your local borough people and just strike up a conversation with them. Ask how you can do more climate things. Maybe you can help them create the budget for the year, or maybe they have some kind of climate fund that you can say, oh, can I maybe give you some advice for this? And yeah, I mean, I guess one big thing here with climate change is be happy to volunteer, because you might not be getting paid with money, but you're getting paid with this kind of sense of love and passion in return for taking care of the planet, really.
Yeah, that's such an important message. And I think that so many volunteer opportunities just they open your eyes for starters, because you find yourself interacting with new people who come from different perspectives. But it also is about developing that wider sense of kind of civil duty and responsibility that makes you feel more connected to your community. And that's something that's come up in a lot of the sessions, actually, developing that sense of connectedness, not just with the people around you, but also with nature, and how much change is reliant on people having empathy for the issues. And that's a process people have to go through, isn't it?
Oh, it's so important. I'm so happy that you've just raised this. It's really, really relevant. And I just feel like when you really, really deep dive into it and you really build this strong connection with nature and all of these other people who are working in this kind of space, you just feel so like money can't really buy this feeling that you get from it.
No, it's a wonderful sort of I don't know, like an intrinsic feeling that you are doing something important and you are part of something, which I think for anybody, really, that's what we really want to do as individuals, be part of something. And there's something so rewarding, as you say, as being with other people who also share these kind of desires to want to help, to want to fix problems or find solutions and help other people. It's a very altruistic kind of feeling that you get from that, and it is quite a wonderful thing that we can and have the ability to do that now. And now it's crucial that we carry on doing that and keep pushing forwards.
Yeah, 100%.
It was one of these sessions I mentioned earlier, the UKRI session, where we had the 4 fellows talk about their work, and it was Jessica, I think, that said that there's so many things that you can do, but one of the things you can do really easily is share this information, share the science, share the issues. And it's so easy to do that with so many platforms now that you can get to develop those sorts of conversations around them, making connections with people, pulling out a mobile phone, making a film, which is actually what leads us up to the final bit of this. And we're delighted again to show the trailer for the Act Now film campaign, asking young people around the world from ages 18 to 30 to make a film about what they care about, so we can tell the leaders of tomorrow what to do. So thank you so much for being with us here, Serena, and we look forward to seeing how your career develops. And hope to see you at COP.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
In November 2021, the UK will host the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow, also known as COP26. The COP26 summit will bring together international government negotiators, decision makers, and policy makers to discuss how they should accelerate action towards stopping climate change. From small island states to countries with rapidly growing urban areas, representatives from 197 countries are expected to join the summit. We, the young people living across the planet, have the opportunity to tell these decision makers why stopping climate change is important to us, the future generations, and everyone's voice matters.
So we're making a film, all of us. Please tell us what matters most and we'll bring your perspective into the frame. Tell us what is important to you and how leaders can change so that they can lead the change we want to see in our world. If you're 18 to 30 years old, submit your video on Twitter, Instagram, or Weibo of up to 2 minutes in high definition using the hashtag #ActNowFilm.
Your video submission should include the following points: your first name and country, why is climate change important to you, what do you think is the most important change that needs to be addressed in climate change, are you a part of any group or organization, if so, where is it and what does it do, what pledge will you take to address climate change, and what would you most like to say to the global decision makers at COP. For more details, please follow on Instagram, Twitter, or Weibo, where you will find everything you need.
Here's your chance to show the negotiators what action you are already taking and what action you'd like them to take.